Executive Vice President of Europe, the Middle East and Africa for Third Stage Consulting. We help clients throughout the world with their digital transformations and ERP implementations. We help them with their selections and planning for their future organization. When we talk to clients, we get a ton of different questions as we're going through these implementations. Today, we're going to talk about some of those questions, some of the most popular and common questions, and then hopefully provide you with some answers to those common questions so that you can move forward successfully on your own journey. One of the most common questions we get asked as an organization is, when should requirements gathering begin? And the answer is really, as soon as possible. One of the most common questions we get asked is, when should requirements gathering begin? And the real answer is, it should start as soon as possible. What you really want to do as part of your implementation is to get some of those high-level requirements defined up front, long before you get involved talking to the software vendors. You really want to define those from a business point of view. So looking at the very high level, level 1 and level 2 business processes for your organization will really help you set a good foundation for the future project, will help you define what you really need to focus on when it comes to selection. Later on in the project, level 3 and possibly level 4, as you're going through the vendor selection process, so you're digging into a little bit more detail, that provides you the background to focus on some of the areas that are critical to your business specifically and how the software will address those specific needs. And then when you finally get around to the implementation and you're in the middle of the design of what that technical solution will look like, that's a more appropriate time to get to the level 4 and level 5. In general, really, defining what your requirements are, if you can get as many requirements as possible as early, then that is obviously a good thing. But what you don't want to do is get into analysis paralysis and really hold up the implementation project. You need to get enough at a high level to make sure that you're selecting the right technology for your organization, but don't do too much up front, because a lot of it will be dictated by standard workflows, especially if you're focusing on a more out-of-the-box solution, which I know a lot of our customers are working towards today. Another one of the most asked questions that we get is, when should change management begin? And this is a tricky one, because the answer really is yesterday. As early as you can start change management, that really is the key to a successful project. There are a number of things going on within the organization, new tools, new technology, new business process. The impact of change on individual people is really critical. And so the earlier that you can actually start dealing with that, start looking at what the impacts of the project are and how you're going to address them, how you're going to get people feeling comfortable with the new technology, with the new business processes. Maybe there's new approvals that need to happen. All of this is really critical in the success of your overall project. If you go back and look historically at key impacts as far as major implementations go, one of the key impacts that defines success or otherwise of a project is the amount of proactive change management that has been done throughout the organization. And so we always say this really is key. So what does that mean for an actual organization? Well, I think one of the key things that we need to do early on in the project is an organizational readiness assessment. So how is your organization ready for the change that is going to happen? This is a very specific to an individual customer kind of report, where your people are, where the technology is, and how are you going to get them to where you need to go for the implementation. This report allows you then to define your strategy, both in terms of the change management, in terms of training, in terms of communication as well. And so by having that all laid out up front, you understand the work that needs to get done both before, during, and after implementation, and allows you to do that work and ensure that you have a successful project. One of the common questions that you get asked in this industry all the time is really, why do ERP implementations fail? And the reason it gets asked a lot is because there are a lot of failures in this industry. If you go back, I think we looked at a number of studies in the past, and anywhere between 50 and 70% of these projects are considered failures when they complete. That's a huge number. And so there's a lot of brain power that goes into really trying to work out, okay, what are the key factors that either define success or failure for these implementation projects? And I think as a team and as an industry, we've kind of gone through and looked at some of the key things, and we're going to talk about two of them right now. First key item is really unrealistic expectations. You know, when the customer goes into an ERP implementation, they're really hopeful that it will transform their organization. But oftentimes, due to budget or timeframes, corners get cut in terms of what needs to be allocated to that ERP. If you're really not spending enough time or enough money on the actual implementation itself, that can lead to a number of issues throughout the project. And can you really get the true benefits of the project if you're not necessarily supporting it with the resources that are needed? And so the expectation that companies will be successful if they don't have enough time, if they're going after a specific deadline, if they're constrained by budgets, but their expectations of what the implementation will cover in terms of functionality or in terms of departments that they're rolling it out to, there's a number of different factors. And I think one of the key things is to align the organization expectations of the project with the time frame and budget that's been allocated. And having this alignment is going to be key to moving forward successfully. Another question that we get asked is, can an SI be a one-stop shop for your implementation? A lot of customers really, have this concept of one throat to choke, which isn't probably the best phrasing for a project before it's actually started, but really having one organization responsible for the whole implementation. And to be honest, you probably could do that approach. There's a chance that you would be successful, but is it the best way to go forward? We really don't believe so. There is a lot of other things that happen as part of a project, whether that's the organizational change management that has to be done, whether it's the overall PMO and syncing up with other initiatives that are going on within your internal organization, whether it's other systems that you need to integrate to that already exist and you have a team that are managing those. There are lots of different pieces to an overall successful program, and an SI isn't necessarily going to be the right person to be in charge of the overall program. The customer really needs to own that and own the various different streams, whether that be PMO, whether that be organizational change management, whether it be data migration from legacy systems and data integration between the systems as they're going to be in the future. There's a lot of opportunity for customers to drive success across the whole program, and having just an SI running everything isn't necessarily the best way forward. These are examples of some of the top questions that we get asked by our customers. We're obviously interested. If you have more, please get in touch. If you have answers, if there's strategies that have worked for you, we're always interested in learning more. And that's really a valuable input into the work that we do, is the communication and the partnership that we have with the industry and with the customers. So please don't be shy, reach out. The contact information is below. We've also just recently released our digital transformation report, and you will find details of that below if you'd like to check it out. Thank you very much and have a great day.